All right, what's good, y'all? Soul here, and welcome back to the story mode, yet another ramble mode video, because there's just so many different things to talk about that I haven't yet, and, you know, despite all of the stuff that's going around surrounding these prices and things like that, a lot of what they did show off in that direct did look really good, and I'm really excited for a lot of it. A little less, substantially, actually, not a little, substantially less excited because of the pricing situation and the tariff situation. It is genuinely unfortunate, but at the very least, knowing that these games exist and are coming in some capacity, you know, I could at least enjoy the fact that they're here at all, right? And one of the things that I was not expecting whatsoever was Age of Imprisonment. I think, even though this isn't the thing that I'm technically most excited about, I think I can safely hand that over to Donkey Kong Bonanza, but this is a very close second, right? Because we were lied to. We were told years ago, at this point, that they are done with Era of the Wild. They are done with this world and everything in it. They are not doing anything else with this, and they're going to be moving on to the next major Zelda game, and that's just kind of it. Like, we had our trilogy with, you know, Breath of the Wild, Age of Calamity, and then Tears of the Kingdom. Like, we had our trilogy set of games, even though, you know, obviously Age of Calamity, a Warriors game, was a spin-off. We just kind of figured, okay, well, that's it. We could live with that, whatever. We were lied to so hard because not only were they not done, considering the fact that they were taking their time polishing these games and adding a lot more content through app stuff, which, I mean, insane that they did this, but you know what? It definitely adds on to, you know, why they priced it the way they did. Like, they added a lot of content in the mobile stuff, which is alright, whatever. It gets a little more out of the game than we got before, so it'll be, you know, fun on multiple playthroughs, or like third, fourth playthroughs, whatever playthrough everybody's on right now. But the fact that we're getting a brand new Warriors game is absolutely bonanzas, right? I'm gonna keep saying that, and if anybody's watching these, bro, y'all gonna be sick of me, right? But the last thing we were expecting was another Warriors game, because Age of Calamity, people were kind of like iffy about that one, especially regarding, you know, spoiler alert here, but it's been 5 years since that game. No, 4 years. Yeah, almost 5 years now since that game. The ending wasn't canon, so like it was a completely different like timeline. So it created its own canon. It was like really weird, but I mean, whatever. It did its own thing. It was a fun Warriors game. There was no way they were gonna have us lose in that game. Whatever. Age of Imprisonment seems to be a direct canon prequel to Tears of the Kingdom, actually depicting what happened when Zelda went back into the past and actually showcasing the war, the imprisoning war that they spent so much time talking about throughout the course of Tears of the Kingdom. We would see all these murals, we would see all these things talking about what happened during the Age of Imprisonment, or during the imprisoning war, and all the sages telling us and things like that. So, you know, there had to be a lot more going on than what we thought, but obviously Tears of the Kingdom didn't give us as many answers as we would have liked. But through this Warriors game, we are able to finally get a lot of those answers, and that is very, very, very exciting, especially because now we're going into the past and focusing on Zelda's side of the story, which, I mean, I think would have been super sick to have done in a regular game. I feel like that probably would have sold even more than Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, if we're on. Nah, maybe not. I don't know. But, you know, something everybody was wanting was a playable Zelda in Tears of the Kingdom, because she got sidelined so hard that we just wanted to see more of her, and they did the exact same thing with her. So for us to get this Warriors game that is completely focused and centered around her story and her time in the past with Rauru and Sonia is exciting, right? And so we're going to get a lot more insight on a lot of these other characters. We're going to get a lot more insight on the sages. We're going to get a lot more insight on Rauru, his abilities, Sonia, her abilities, most likely, Zelda, how she came to develop her abilities, because at some point during the course of Tears of the Kingdom, when you're checking out the memories, at one point she's completely just a novice with her abilities, and it's very, very clear. but at some point she got pretty damn good at using her powers, and it's just like, where did this development come from? What was that? Where has that been, you know? So it's gonna be really, really, really exciting to not only see that in action, but to be able to use it in action, because Zelda's gonna be, you know, it's safe to say that she's gonna be like the main playable character throughout the course of this story, and that's super dope. I'm super looking forward to that, because I really want to see how her development comes along. I really want to see how she gets along with, you know, Sonya and Rauru and all of the other sages and things like that. And, you know, it's funny. I wanted to talk about this in a future video, so I'll briefly mention this here. I did recently watch through a video essay in regards to Tears of the Kingdom, and it was a video that I'd been avoiding for a long time, because I'm just like, all right, well, this seems like blind hate, yada yada yada. Somebody just yapping for 3 straight hours about how they hate Tears of the Kingdom. But, you know, you learn, you grow, and then I kind of looked at it, I'm like, you know what? Maybe they have some valid criticisms as to why they are not a big fan of Tears of the Kingdom. And sure enough, they had a lot of very valid criticisms about Tears of the Kingdom, and I can't really blame them for it. Skitty Bitty, very good video. I'll be watching that time and time again. And I agree with a lot of it. Even though I still love Tears of the Kingdom, I can definitely see its cracks, you know, and one of those major cracks is in the story in of itself, because there's so many there's so many major plot holes in Tears of the Kingdom throughout the story, right? Even if you were to play them out in order and things like that, there's still a lot of different plot holes that we just don't truly understand, you know? Yeah, like how Sonya and Rauru could possibly have had a child when Sonya is literally murdered like halfway through the story, you know, how, you know, Ganon gets his way, gets to power and things like that. I mean, there's a lot going on there. And yeah, especially like, you know, Rauru and Sonya coming back and getting or turning Zelda back from the light dragon to her original self. There's a lot going on, and I feel like maybe, just maybe, if this really is the canon events of the prequel to Tears of the Kingdom, then maybe we could get a couple of answers with that through this story, and that's gonna be super exciting. Because I love, despite the cracks, again, I still love Tears of the Kingdom. It has its issues. I 100% agree with that. I cannot argue with that whatsoever. But I still love the game. Okay, I have a good time with it every time I play through it. I'm gonna have a great time if I can manage to get my hands on the newer Switch 2 edition that cleans up frame rates, cleans up coloring, and just gives us all of these different things to do. And so, you know, those cracks are going to show even more on another playthrough, and it's definitely going to be apparent and very important that we get these little tidbits cleaned up so that we can see what's going on. Not that it's a good excuse to have an unfinished story in a major game like Tears of the Kingdom, especially when they were bold enough to charge $70 for it, but regardless, I'm curious to see where this story heads. And I pray to God, Shinx specifically, that they keep it canon. I need them to keep it canon, okay? Because that was what kind of like turned a lot of people away from Age of Calamity. And while like the concept is fun, I feel like doing something like that took any seriousness away from that story. And it just really, like, you know, of course, me personally, I love Warriors games. I love taking down hundreds and thousands of baddies at a time with overpowered movesets and things like that. I adore Warriors games. Dynasty Warriors, One Piece Warriors, Hyrule Warriors, all of them. It's just an awesome time. But one of the driving forces for these games has to be the story, because especially in original stories like Dynasty Warriors and especially in Hyrule Warriors, because otherwise it feels a little more redundant. Because that's the thing with Warriors games. They are a little redundant. They are really repetitive. And if you don't like the repetitiveness of like a game of this nature, you're never going to be able to enjoy a game like this. And so that's why it's very important to me that this story at least stay somewhat canon and connected so that we could get some kind of like closure as to what happened thousands of years ago when Zelda was chucked headfirst into the past. Like, how did she even... Did her power come out of panic and send her back in time? Or, like, was it planned? I don't know. It's very hard to say. But regardless, I need that to happen. Okay. And then, of course, obviously, one of the more major aspects that needs to be addressed in Warriors games across the board is frame rates. Okay. And I know that the Switch 2 can definitely deal with this situation, but I don't think it's getting a Switch 2 edition, but it, you know, in the Switch 2 announcement, I have to imagine that it's probably not going to be a Switch 2 exclusive. But regardless, I need those frame rates to look good, especially when there's like just hundreds of people on the screen, hundreds of baddies on the screen. We need to be able to deal with that with a decent frame rate. I want the game to run as smoothly as possible so that I could see what I'm doing and just have more fun with it running slow. I don't want it chugging along when I get a bunch of baddies grouped up in one area and then use a special and have to watch it chug along, watch a 12-second, 30-second cutscene before I can move on to my next objective, you know? So I'm really hoping the best for this game, because this game as a concept is absolutely so interesting. And on top of all of that, bro, oh my god, on top of all of that, I know he's gonna be like the secret character, just like he was in Age of Calamity. I'm for sure gonna need a playable Ganondorf, especially Samurai Ganon, bro. There's no way in hell, no shot in heaven that I am not working my ass off, doing whatever I gotta do to make it so that I can have Samurai Ganon on deck ready to fight, bro. That has to happen immediately. No objections to be had. None. So yeah, I would love to see this work in some capacity. I need to see this happen. So I'm really looking forward to this game. Again, I love Warriors games, so Zelda Warriors games are my everything. I think they're my favorite of the Warriors games. I do need to play Dynasty Warriors. I think Origins just came out recently, so I'll definitely eventually pick that up when I get the chance. But I definitely just love the concept of Warriors games, and the fact that we're getting another one, especially when we were told we were done with this era, is so exciting, because we finally get that last little tidbit that, hey, why not? Let's do this. And they made the best use out of it. And I'm so excited to see that. I'm so excited to see all these characters. I'm so excited to possibly actually get an idea of who the sages are and maybe genuinely meet these characters, see what they're actually like, maybe get some personality out of them, because otherwise we have zero, zilch, nada, okay? And maybe they can use this to explain where the Shikatech went. Maybe they took it back into the past and completely obliterated them, utilizing them in the war. I don't know. I don't know, because they weren't depicted in the mural, so I guess that wouldn't really make sense. But regardless, this game looks really good. And something tells me there's probably going to be a Switch 1 edition, which is fine. Like, at least I'll have a way to get it. But if we can actually get our hands on Switch 2s and we can get Switch 2 editions of this game, or at least a Switch 2 version, like, that's polished, I would love that. I would love to be able to run this in 120 frames, 1080p, or even 4K. So that's where I'm at. But I don't know how you guys feeling about it. I'm passing the mic over in your direction, and I want you to tell me everything that you guys are thinking in the comment section below. Are you looking forward to Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment? Is this something that's up your alley? Are you looking forward to maybe seeing the actual canon events of what happened during the imprisoning war and playing as Zelda, Rauru, Sonia, and the sages, and, you know, learning about their history in the past, what happened during the war? Or are you on the opposing side? Link's not here, so you're not there. You're not really feeling this story at all. You don't really care for Warriors games in general, and this is just not your cup of tea. Tell me everything that you guys are thinking in the comment section below, because you know for a fact that I'm always going to be down there with you guys. But with that, it does appear to be skedaddle o'clock, so I'm going to go ahead and do just that. I'd like to thank you guys ever so much for watching. I truly do hope you enjoyed. Do me the greatest favor of dropping a like and a comment, and consider subscribing for more content just like this here. And with that, I'm gonzo. Thanks again, hope you enjoyed, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. Do me the greatest favor of taking good ass care, and I'll see you all next time.